All right, so it's been a week with the new updates to Cashout and the finals. Wanted to make a video talking about all the new stuff in the update, but I wanted to wait a decent amount of time, collect thoughts, get a bunch of games in before making a video on it. Didn't want it to be like too reactionary or anything like that. So it's been a week now, and I've played a decent amount of games. If I had to guess, at least over 10 tourneys, but probably a decent amount more than that. With the new changes, and yeah, so it's been long enough, and I finally wanted to talk about it. And also, I'm going to link in the description. If you haven't seen it yet, they put out a survey that they're trying to get people's opinions on all the different changes and stuff like that. And the survey goes through everything pretty much. So I'm going to link that in the description as well. Assuming if you click on this video, you've probably seen that already, but I'll still throw it in there. But yeah, so it's been a week with the new changes. And what do I think about them? So let's go one by one here. So the first thing, this will be pretty quick. They did change the spawn logic on, I think, the vaults, and then potentially where teams spawn as well. But whatever changes they made here, I honestly, it's been kind of I've had kind of a hard time noticing the difference there. But I do think that it's better probably, because I feel like on certain maps, certain vaults would get thirded immediately. Like you'd have one team go to one vault and you'd have 3 teams go to the other one. There's one on Vegas in particular. I don't know how to describe exactly where it is, but if you've played Vegas, you probably know which one I'm talking about. But there's one initial vault spawn on Vegas that used to be really bad for that. It would always have 3 teams and the other one would almost always just have 1 team. And I do feel like that hasn't happened as much post-update. I'm not sure, how much of that is just chance. You never know. Teams are going to be different, obviously. Different lobbies, different teams are going to play differently. So it's kind of hard to tell how much of that is actually the spawn logic changes and stuff like that. But all I can say is that it did feel better. I do think it felt better. So yeah, it seemed a bit better, but it's kind of hard to say. The next thing is the new plug money that you get. So before, I believe it was just 2,000 that you'd get, and it wasn't a part of the vault total. So before, you'd put in a 10K, you'd get 2K for putting it in, and then you'd still get the 10K for holding on to it when the money cashes out. But now you get, I think it's 30%, and they do some rounding on a few of them, so it's not super accurate. So some of them it's a little bit different. It's not exactly 30%. They definitely go for the rule of nice numbers on it a little bit. But it's roughly 30% you get for plugging. So for example, in the 10K, it is literally 30%. You get 3,000, and then if you hold the cash out, you get 7K. So that change is very substantial, right? So obviously, the plug money across the board gets a really big buff, so that's really substantial. But the other aspect of it too, the fact that there's less money for actually holding the cash out, that's even more substantial, I think. So, well, obviously together they both are pretty important. And this one I'm kind of torn on. I think I like it, but I think it maybe needs tuning, because right now, especially, well, it's kind of more of a problem with another aspect. We'll get to that one. I guess I could bring it up now. The no wipe penalty, I think, is the bigger issue. Because the way you can play right now, you could legit play to just plug the vaults. You could play a double or triple light comp. And I swear, if you plug 5 of them, which is not going to be super easy, but it's pretty doable. If you plug 5 of them, at least, obviously if you get all 6, it's insane, but if you plug at least 5 of them, you only need to hold 1 cash out probably, of the potential 6, and then that's not counting if any of them get doubled or anything like that. But you probably, honestly, I don't even know if you need to hold 1. The plug money adds up so much, I don't even know if you need to hold 1. Depending on how the teams get the different cash outs, depending on what the spread is, you might be able to just plug the vaults and literally win completely off of that right now. And the way it is right now is that, maybe not completely win off of that, but you can basically win the game, or at least advance to the next round just off of putting the objective in. And I think that's a little much. I do think there should be some tuning there. the emphasis should be on holding the cash out. And don't get me wrong, it is still, right? You definitely still get more money for holding it than you do for plugging it. But I do think the plug money is like it's a little too substantial, I think, right now. And I think especially with the no wipe penalty, it leads to like the plug money being so important and the cash out giving less. I think that leads to a lot more like blowouts. And I feel like there's a lot of games where like one team going into the last two cash outs is literally just super good to go. And again, especially with the no wipe penalty, yeah, it's just like way more of a problem now than it used to be, because even though it was unlikely before, with the wipe penalty, you could always kind of like have a team that's in a good position kind of knock them down, unless they have an insane start to the game, right? Unless it's two doubles and they win both. Obviously, they're pretty much set, and that's fair. But now it doesn't even need to be doubles. Like, you could just get plugs and just win two normal cash outs, and you pretty much be good to go, especially if you just like plug one of the last two. Like, you're just good to go, and there's just no wipe penalty, so there's no risk. And yeah, it's just a whole slew of issues. Again, I think a lot of it comes back to the no wipe penalty, though. I think a lot of it, like, I need to try these changes with the wipe penalty reinstated, because it might change my opinion on some of them. Like, the way the game would play would be so different. It's really hard to say whether I like some of these if the wipe penalty was still there, or how much I like it. Like, it's just, I don't know. They definitely need to. That's the one rule for sure that they need to experiment with. Like, they need to get the wipe penalty back in there. Keep all this other stuff, and then let's, do another survey after that. Like, see how we feel about the changes once the wipe penalty's back, because I think a lot of the community agrees that the wipe penalty is like, it's just like a core part of the mode, and the mode's a lot more interesting. It feels a lot more high stakes, a lot more intense, and it should just be there. It should just be there, and like removing it was just by far the most substantial change. And again, it's just hard to gauge everything else with that large of a change, because it affects everything. It affects everything. Like, it affects the way you play the game entirely. So there you go. I mean, I just transitioned from the plug money to the wipe penalty rant. But seriously, I think that's the biggest thing. And it's hard to say how much I like this other stuff when the wipe penalty is not a thing, because it just plays into everything. So for example, like, one thing, they talked about third parties, and I think a goal of some of these changes was to like reduce third parties. And I think overall, third parties have actually increased. I think that playstyle has increased because, well, for a few reasons. One, without the wipe penalty, that encourages every team to fight more, right? Like, every team, you're encouraged to fight more without the wipe penalty, because there's not as much stake. I mean, obviously the stake is if you die, you can't get the cash out. Potentially, you're on the respawn timer. But in terms of actually losing your score, right, that stake being completely removed, that just, I think, encourages aggression across the board. And especially for the team that's in the lead, right? Because a lot of the time, the team that's in the lead, you'd have like one guy go and hide and like prevent the wipe. One guy go and hide, and then, maybe two guys would get aggressive. But generally, a lot of the time, I think in late game situations, the wipe penalty would encourage less third partying, because you'd at least have that first place team be a little less involved generally in those situations. Whereas now, if you're the first place team, you might as well, and if you're good to go, you might as well fight for that extra money, because why not? There's no reason not to. There's not necessarily a reason to fight for it, but there's also no reason to not fight for it. So, and you're playing the game for fun. You'd rather get in the action and get involved. It's more fun that way. So like, why not? Why would you not go fight for the other one? And especially, it could help you control the game, control who comes to the next round and stuff like that. So like, of course you're going to do it. So yeah, I think the changes, ironically, have actually made third partying a bit worse. That being said, because we're getting close to the end of the gameplay here, overall, I have been enjoying. It's been fun playing something different in Cashout. It's been fun playing something that feels fresh, and just like having that new feel, especially with how lacking the updates have been this season in general. It's been really nice just like playing something that feels fresh again on the finals. So I'm still enjoying the update overall. One more thing I want to mention, though, the extra kill money, I do like that. I do think the extra money for kills is nice. I think that's nice. But yeah, overall, I'm enjoying the update, but I don't think it's perfect. The main thing that I would change is I think they need to bring the wipe penalty back. Maybe they could adjust the severity of it, right? Maybe they could make it 20% instead of 30% that you lose. Maybe you could adjust those numbers, but it definitely needs to be there. It needs to be there for sure. And it's hard for me to say how I feel about everything exactly until it's back. So yeah, what do you guys think about the update? I think that pretty much sums up my thoughts. Hope you enjoyed the gameplay in the video, and see you in the next one.